Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys, I'll be profiling for you my Lightsworn Dragon Ruler deck profile. I promised you guys last week that I would post this up, and I'm doing the deck profile today. So, before I get started, I just want to say a quick little thing. I actually hate this deck. And you may be asking yourself, well, why did you build a deck that you hate? That doesn't make sense. That blows my mind. That makes no sense whatsoever. Well, let me quickly give you the lowdown. Well, first off, it involves two archetypes that I've never been too fond of. Lightsworn, Dragon Rulers. Never been fond of either one. But the deck is very fun to play, and I never played with JD even back when I was younger, and JD was at 3, Charger Light Brigade was at 3, and Honest was at 3. I never played around with it because I just thought it was, get that away from me. It's disgusting. But it is a fun deck to play, and it's kind of a fun, lucky deck, I guess you could say. How lucky are you today? Did you mill the right cards, or did you not mill the right cards? So it's a fun deck in that respect, and that is why I play it. So for anybody that hates Lightsworn Rulers or Dragon Rulers, I'm with you on that. But it's just a fun, lucky deck to play. That's why I like it. So without further ado, I'll get started on the deck profile, guys, of the deck, and there will be a card list down below. So without further ado, let's get
guys,
started.
first off, we run our 3 Judgment Dragon. Before I go any further, guys, I want to let you know that down in the description below, there will be a card list, like I said before. The reason for that being is I know my camera quality on this camera is not the best. So, 3 JD, I love this guy and I hate this guy. It's kind of like Grapha, a love-hate relationship. When you play him, you feel amazing, but when somebody plays a JD, drops a JD on you, you're like, ugh, I hate this card. But he's still the boss monster of the deck. He's a lot more easily searchable now in a way because of Eclipse Wyvern, because you can, once Eclipse Wyvern is sent to the graveyard, then you can banish a JD from your deck, and then when Eclipse Wyvern gets banished, you can add that JD back to your hand. And then if you have the correct setup, you can then nuke the field if you feel like you want to do that. So, next, like I said, we run 3 Eclipse Wyvern. It helps search out your JD, so you can banish your JD. Then when Eclipse Wyvern gets banished, then you can add your JD to hand. Sometimes, though, with Eclipse Wyvern, I do add lightray diabolos to my hand, but that's few and far between. Once in a while, that will happen if I always say, have 2 JDs in my hand. I'll be like, well, I don't think I need a third JD. But if you feel like you need to, go right ahead. But sometimes I do search for lightray diabolos. So, 3 Eclipse Wyvern. Next, 2 Dragon Rulers. I know originally a lot of people were running, back when people came up with the idea to add E-Dragons and Eclipse Wyvern, to search for JD, in the infancy of what do we call it now? Lightsworn Rulers. In the infancy of Lightsworn Rulers, people were running 4 E-Dragons. That is way too much, I would feel now. Some people are still running 3 E-Dragons. I found that a little bit cloggy. It can give you a lot of brick, clunky hands, very clunky or brick type hands. So I just run the 2 main E-Dragons. You usually are never, ever, unless you're teching in stuff, going to get their effects off from the hand, to pop a monster with JD, with Blaster. I mean, once you banish 2 dragons to get them out in the field, banish your Eclipse Wyverns so you can get their effect off to get the JD that you banished, you're usually not going to get them off a second time in that duel. And for that reason why I only run 2 of them. I mean, he can be... If you draw this card, it just sits in your hand. You always want to try to get to graveyard as quickly as possible because in your hand it just doesn't do as much. It can really cause some very clunky hands. So that's why I took Redox, which I was originally running as the 3rd Dragon Ruler, out of the deck and replaced it with another lightray diabolos, because lightray diabolos, though early game he can't do as much. Mid to late game, if you have the correct setup and grave, he can be very good, and his effect is not too bad. You can use him as exceed fodder, or you can just use him as a big beat stick, or you can use his effect if you wish. So he has more versatility, and he's not as dead as the E-Dragon. So that's why I run 2 lightray diabolos instead of 3 E-Dragons. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say there. Next, 2 kuribandit. Kuribandit is very good in this deck, but it's amazing first and second turn if you get it off. But if you get kuribandit mid to late game, it's not good at all. It's it just sits in your hand and you're using it as fodder for like Lumina plays. Amazing early game, not so good mid to late game, because if you've played Light Swarms enough by now, you will understand that Light Swarms, for the most part, still rely pretty heavily on that normal summons, and Kuribandit takes up a normal summons. And early game, that's not so bad, but when you're in the grind game and you get your Light Swarms rolling, it could mean the difference between defeat and victory, I have found. So that's why I only run 2 Kuribandit. If you want to run 3, go right ahead, but I find 2 to be enough for me. Next, I think, is pretty much the ace monster of the deck. Next to JD, I think this is one of the best monsters of the deck right now, is Lumina. Lumina helps set up plays. It helps set up your synchro and exceeds plays. And on top of all that, she can help mill the deck out too if you want to in some respects. But she's mainly there for exceeds, to help make exceeds, and to help make synchros. And she's very good at that job. She's amazing. I would say she's my favorite Lightsworn monster in the deck for what she does. Next, I run 3 Raiden. Now, I will tell you guys, if you haven't looked down below already, I do run a 41 card deck. It's kind of funny how I came up, I made the deck 41. I usually run my decks around 40 to 42. But I found that when I was running my Lightsworn deck, this build, at 40, it was getting very clunky hands, very brick type hands. But when I knocked that card count up to 41, it almost in half cut down all those brick type hands that I was getting. I don't know why, but it just does. So if you're having some trouble and you're continuously getting brick hands in your Lightsworn deck, you may want to just consider maybe bumping up the card count up just a little bit, maybe by 1 or 2 cards. It can be helpful in some respects sometimes. So that's why I'm running 3 Raiden. If you want to run the deck at 40, just take a Raiden out. Just take 1 Raiden out. But if you want to run it at the same way I am, just keep 3 Raiden in the deck. He's very useful. He can be used as a beat stick. He's a great as a level 4 tuner, and sometimes he can be a good mill engine once you get him started. Next, 3 necro gardna. I know a lot of people preferring Rainbow Karibo over necro gardna, but I just prefer necro gardna. If electric magnetic turtle was out, I would probably play around with that more, but I just find necro gardna a little bit more useful than Rainbow Karibo. I find them, I've tried out Rainbow Karibo, but I just prefer necro gardna. So 3 necro gardna. 2 lyla. Lyla is good. It's pretty much your MST for the deck and helps set up your graveyard, and is very good as a name, Lightsworn name for JD. For your 1-of Lightsworms, we run Minerva, Ehren, Jain, Garoth, and Wulf. Let me get them a bit more centered so you can see better. Minerva, great. If you mill off your Minerva, you get the effect. That's really nice. That's amazing. And it doesn't hurt also that she's a level 3 tuner. But if you're trying to use Minerva to search out your JD, good luck, my friend. I have not once got to search out JD with this card. It's so hard to do. If it was easier, everybody would be doing it. Ehren, it's a pretty good card in her. She's a pretty good card in her own right. Jain, pretty good card. Garoth, actually a very good card if you have another Lightsworn on field. I've seen people run him at 2. Wulf, I only run 1 of because at 2 he can get very cloggy, but he can help set up exceeds and synchro plays though. So they all have their purpose, and they're all mainly in there to use their names for targets for JD. Next, we run 1 Honest, and that is the last monster of the deck. I remember when Lightsworms had originally 3 Honest and 3 Charge of the Light Brigade. It was some crazy stuff going on way back in. But that was towards the end of GX. Next, we run our 3 Solar Recharge. I would maybe argue that this is probably one of the best draw cards in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! It helps set up the graveyard, helps draw cards. It does so many good things. I find that it's probably one of the best draw cards in the game, as of right now. Next, I run 2 Soul Charge. I know a lot of people are running 3 Soul Charge, but I find that with, you're having to use life points to drop your JD and get the nuking effect off, and using Soul Charge, and on top of that using Michael the Lightsworn if you go into him, and using that, using another 1,000 life points out, you can leave your life points pretty dang low, and that can cause for some um, games that get stolen away from you. So that's why I only run 2 soul charge. You usually only get 1 off per duel, and you usually bring back 3 monsters at that, if 3 to 4. But it is a good card, and I run 2 of it because I am running kuribandit. But 2 soul charge is all I've needed. I've never gone into more. I tried it at 3. I never went into 2 soul charge in 1 duel. If you mill 1, that's okay. If you activate 1, usually you're going to get 1 off per duel, I find. 1 foolish burial to get rid of those clunky cards in your deck, like Wulf maybe, or Blaster, or Tidal, or whatever you want to, out of the deck, so you don't have to draw it. 1 charge of the light brigade. If this was at 3, I would run 3, but every time I hear charge of the light brigade, I think of the real original, light brigade from that, as a military fame, the charge of the light brigade, that military song you've heard before, long ago if you're an older person. But that's what I always think of. I'm like, charge. No, I do not, make a trumpet sound every time I activate Charge the Light Brigade, but that'd be cool if that actually happened. And finally, I run 1 monster reincarnation. A lot of people do not like this card. I like it as a 1-of. A lot of people don't like it, they say, because it's a neg-1, but I find it's useful because if you milled a good card, and you have a card that's not doing anything good for you in your hand, you can just say, okay, I pitch this card, I'll grab this JD back from the grave, and then I'll nuke the field, and then I'll be all good to go. And I find it useful as a 1-of. Next, I run for my traps. I run 2 breakthrough skill, and I run 2 needlebug nest. That rounds out the main deck at 41. Breakthrough skill, just very good if you're trying to prevent somebody from 101ing your things away, or exitaning the field, or whatever they want to do. I may cut it down, but for right now I like 2 breakthrough skill. Needlebug nest is something I've been testing out, and it's been working fairly well. Along with the 2 kuribandit and needlebug's nest, it's enough to set up the graveyard so you can drop your JDs, I have found. You have to remember that this is still a luck-based deck, no matter which way you look at it, because you have to get the right mills. Onto the extra deck, guys. Though I will add on to that you have more ability to control what you're milling more than you used to originally with light swarms. So for your rank 4 exceeds, I run Lava Chain, so you can drop things to grave and add things to the top of your deck. Abyss Dweller, because it hurts a lot of decks out there right now, and number 101, Silent Arc Arnor's Knight. Just a very good card in general. If you have an Exiton Knight, go right ahead and run it, but I do not own an Exiton Knight currently. It's too expensive for me. For your level 3s, I run 1 Ghost Trick Alucard and 1 Leviathan the Sea Dragon. Those are pretty much your rank 3 exceeds. For your rank 7 exceeds, I run number 74 Master of Keyblades and number 11 Big Eye. Imagine that this magically number 74 Master of Keyblades turns into Dragosack. Voila! Okay, it didn't happen. But imagine this card is Dragosack. I don't own a Dragosack. I don't own one currently. And number 11 Big Eye. Those are pretty much there for your Diabolos plays or your Dragon Ruler Exceed plays. And finally, for your level 8 Exceed, I run Divine Dragon Knight Felgrant. This is when you have 2 JDs in hand, engraved, and you activate Soul Charge and bring them back, so you can exceed over them. It does happen, believe me. For your Synchros, we run 1 Goyo Guardian. You do go into him, and he's very effective if you your attack goes through. 1 Black Rose Dragon. Nuking the field on this deck is, amazing, so why not play Black Rose? You can usually go into him. And for your other level 7, if you want to run more than 1 Michael the Arc Lightsworn, go right ahead, but I'm very tight for space in the extra deck, I find, so I just run 1 Michael the Arc Lightsworn. I only run 1 of him, but if you want to run more, go right ahead. So Goyo, Black Rose, Michael. And finally, we run Star Eater, Leo of the Sacred Trees, Crimson Blader, and Stardust Spark Dragon. So Star Eater, you do go into him fairly often, or you go into Leo, one or the other. Crimson Blader and start a Spark Dragon on your rank 8 synchros. If you want to run something else besides Spark Dragon or Crimson Blader, go right ahead, but those are the two I mainly go into. And I hope you guys all enjoyed that Lightsworn Ruler deck profile.
So guys, I hope you all enjoyed that Lightsworn Ruler deck profile, and you know, there's still some things in the extra deck that I'm playing around with and I'm trying out. If you did not see a card in the extra deck that you think I should run, like I think it's Arcanic Magician. I'm playing around with it, but I haven't, I'm not totally sold on playing the card in the deck all the time. But there are cards in the extra deck I'm still playing around with, and I'm still tinkering around with the main deck. But overall, I like the build that I have. It's done fairly well for me. It's fairly consistent. You have some pretty decent control milling in the entire deck. But overall, it's a fun deck to play. Even if whatever you think on Light Swarms and E-Dragons coming together to join forces, whatever you think on that, it is still a fun deck to play. And until next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling to all of you, and I'll see all of you next time. Seto Kaiba, I'm out of here, guys, till next time.